Oh man, I'm still bobbing my head like that shit still playing in my ears. What's good? What's good? What's happening with y'all, man? Look, I'ma say it like I always say. Welcome to the Peep Game Podcast, where we're under zero, count 'em, zero obligation to be anything resembling professional. We like to call ourselves the niggin department of Level One Gaming, aka the ratchet department, because some people, get a little squeamish at any word that starts with an N and got two G's, and that's me too. If the wrong person said, you know what I'm talking about?
Nuggets.
No,
Yeah, man.
oh,
Yeah, man. Nuggets give me a little weird too.
that's actually snap. Okay, see, now that y'all done heard the voice and you see the face, let's introduce y'all to the big brain energy. Let me let y'all know. Man. I'm gonna say pause before I say this statement because this one been a long time coming, like sex with a sloth. Pause. Long time coming. You know what I'm talking about? Like this is one of those. You know how like people family before they even family. I'm not talking about Vin Diesel. I'm talking about the good brother, the man that's black and gifted, man. Jedi. How you doing, young man?
Man, after that introduction, man, how can anyone be anything other than great, man? Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you having me on, man. Like you said, it's been a long time coming, man. We chopped it up. We chopped it up off stream, several times, man. It's about time we made it official, man. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
Shout
man.
out to everybody in the chat too.
Appreciate you. Hey, Flames, you already know what it is, man. One of the realest people on the internet. Top five and not five. You know what I mean? You and let's be honest. You and Hustle and Motivate battling for top spot. Y'all been here since the beginning, and I ain't even got to bet nobody else's money that y'all gonna be here to the end. I mean, not as if there's going to be one. If we been all the way about it. Look, man, I feel like let me put my Joe Clark glasses on while I say this. Because we about to get to theorizing pretty soon. We about to get to breaking down mythos, and I think it's safe to call it that. It's old enough at this point. A mythos that has that's just wide ranging at this point, and there's more there than we know. And it's sort of like the East Coast, like living in the East Coast. It's dense. You know what I mean? Like it's that everything is stacked on top of each other and it's woven in an intricate way. But before we get there,
stacked and squeezed together. Yeah.
Before we get there, because this is technically a gaming podcast, I'm gonna ask the most gaming question that every gamer asks when they hop on a podcast. Man, what you been playing?
Can't abridge your spirits. Can't abridge your spirits, man. I've been getting my Zelda from the 64 era fixed with that. So I like it. I'm a fan.
That.
It's a lot more challenging than I expected, though. Which is a pleasant surprise. It is. It ain't sweet.
Because when you look at it,
some of them bosses get you up out of there.
When you look at it, you kind of expect Pixar. You kind of expect Illumination. You kind of like if it was multiplayer, it'd be Despicable Us. You know what I mean? You kind of expect that type
Right.
of thing. So, really challenging. I kind of want to hear about that.
Oh man. Okay. You start off the idea of the game. You're like a spirit guide, and there are a whole lot of like runaway spirits that are essentially rogue spirits, for the lack of a better term right now. There are a lot of rogue spirits, so you have to act as a medium to help find peace with these spirits so they can go on about their business, because right now they terrorizing the village. So you got to get them to move on. They provide a whole lot of resistance, and they manifest themselves in the form of these bosses that are pretty formidable. You know what I'm saying? It's no joke.
I was thinking about actually picking it up, not because I was particularly excited about it myself, even though it looked really good, but more because of the hype around it and how excited a lot of other people were. And I was super excited about Cyberpunk. All my wallpapers was Cyberpunk. All my my phone wallpapers, all of that. Like I went into my old phone trying to find some old raps for some inspiration. And when I turned it on, it was V with like the samurai jacket, and I'm like, man, you can imagine how I've been scarred before, like how I've been hurt before. Like I feel like a single mother out here that don't need no man. I'm independent right now. because everybody else done scarred me. Pause. Like I know how this is
Bitter.
sounding. I know how this is sounding,
Bitter.
but it's thematically appropriate for how I was feeling and my attitude towards other games. Because keep in mind, like right when I thought I ain't gonna be hurt no more, man. That's a once in a lifetime or once in a generation thing. And then Biomutant came out, and it didn't suck. It was just disappointing. Like when it's disappointing in relation to my expectation of what I thought it would have been, and those weren't very high. So hey, pause real quick. I want to say what's good to the good brother Sincere GCG, the Gold Chain Gamer. What's happening with you, Chips and Sticks? What's good, man?
My brother.
So I like to take trips down memory lane. Sometimes very far, sometimes not very. And so I've been dipping and dabbling into some KOTOR. I was on it before it was cool, and by before it was cool, I mean literally just 24 hours before the KOTOR remake was announced. I downloaded it to my Xbox, thinking I was gonna be the only one, and as it turned out, it's an army. Like I think that's dope. And aside from that, I dipped into No Man's Sky a little bit just to kind of check it out, but that's one of those every here and there games for me. It's improved a whole lot from where it was. I feel like any game where you get a car, a ship, and a mech, and a frigate to carry them all, that's cool. I'm not a big on survival games, so
Right.
for that to have caught me, it did a great job. But it didn't last too long because I'm going through 4 different games right now. It didn't last too long because the original Souls, the Souls of all Souls, is Ninja Gaiden got my attention as well. And I've been making pretty good time in it. It's been pissing me off, but I've been making pretty good time in the game, all things considered. I don't think I'm more than like 6 hours within the story just yet.
Right.
Which means I kind of been kicking ass. I probably should do a stream, but every time I stream games like that, I get my ass whooped in front of everybody. And yeah, like Ninja Gaiden is one of those, and it holds up fairly decent. And once I'm done with this last one, I'm gonna ask you if you played any of these or if you're really into any of them. But lastly, I decided to pick up a PlayStation controller for the first time since Resident Evil Village because I don't have a 5, so it was really nothing much for me to play. But decided to pick it up for the first time since Resident Evil Village, and I saw a little sale going on, and I felt like a month of PlayStation Plus for $1, I can't pass that up. If I already had a year paid up, I'd still buy it because it's $1, man. It's a month for $1. Why not? So I grabbed that, and then I grabbed the season pass. Only my second season pass in life, behind Injustice 2. The season pass to Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Oh.
So those 4 games I just laid out. Do you have any experience with those? Do you dig them? Is it something you mess with?
Ninja Gaiden, I have not played. Man, that when you said Ninja Gaiden, man, you actually made me want to pick it up again. I played it so long ago. That it's almost not even worth bringing up. But yeah, absolutely Ninja Gaiden. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, I skipped out on. No Man's Sky, I always had an inkling in the back of my head that made me want to try it, but never got around to it. But KOTOR, who hasn't?
Yeah, man.
You
That
know what I
story,
mean? But
it holds up. It does hold up. It still got my attention, and I don't remember a whole lot from KOTOR originally. I was a young teenager or something, and it was mostly the butt of a lot of jokes between me and my brother. Like we used to make up shit that they were saying, like the aliens speak that alien language. We used to make up shit for them to say, and like it was a lot of jokes. And our attention span wasn't that much for action. I mean, for something that wasn't action outside of say Final Fantasy. So like Final Fantasy X at the time was something that we was big into, and everything else for the most part was just action that we was playing. So it was kind of like that. Now Kakarot, as a Dragon Ball Z fan, it's exactly what you would expect from CyberConnect 2 for the most part. So if you play like any of the Dot Hack games or anything like that, it's those, but a lot more colorful and a lot more exciting. And there's a lot of Dragon Ball nostalgia, like Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z, the actual best series that they ever had, Dragon Ball. There's a lot of nostalgia there within Dragon Ball Z. So
Okay.
yeah, so they hop back and forth between the sagas, and it is not back and forth. They actually go through each saga, but back and forth because the last DLC to come out was Trunks' story, like Gohan losing the arm and like that stuff. So it's pretty. I'm not gonna say it's super fire, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that I really enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've heard people enjoy it. One thing I think I was turned off as far as, making that plunge into the game was that I heard there was a whole lot of fluff in it though.
Um,
As far as like side missions and having to do things that didn't seem like they necessarily pertain to the immediacy of the story being told.
yes and no. For
Okay.
example, the last side quest I can remember doing was after the Buu saga. This is like New Namek is a thing. So when you look at your world map, you look at all the cities and stuff within Earth, but then you can go up and you'll see New Namek, you'll see the Kai's planet, you'll see King Kai planet, and stuff like that. Well, there was everything that happens has a lasting effect on the world. So since the Saiyan saga, there's still Cybermen running around, and there's different variations of Cybermen. So as
Okay.
Gohan, like some of the side quests you can only do as a certain character. So as Gohan, an adult at this point, I'm flying around. I decide to do this one quest, and the dude is like, "I lost my daughter. Can you go find her?" I go find the daughter, and the daughter is he's basically saying there's a rumor going out around that there's these green men attacking people and causing trouble and stuff. I just want to make sure she's okay. So in my head, automatically, I'm like, that's a Cyberman. I'm finna go whoop some ass and then bring her back, and that's gonna be the side quest. You're gonna give me my D coins and stuff, and I'm gonna move on about my life. And everything that
Word.
you kind of has something that you can use, so you don't really get anything that doesn't count towards like a skill tree, because there's skill trees for each character you can play as, or something like that. I decide, I'm gonna go find her. I pull up on her and she's standing next to a green dude. But it's not a Cyberman, it's a Namekian. And I thought all the Namekians was on New Namek. So I talked to the dude, and he's like, she was in trouble. I helped her out. And I decided to stay here. We need more than just water now. And I thought there'd be more food on Earth. So I decided to stay. But I've been staying away from humans. I don't know what y'all talking about, but I've been staying away from them. Long story short, I end up going to find Cybermen. I come back to the village. Cybermen are attacking. I fight them, move on about my business. The daddy is like, "Oh, who's this little bastard? Like, who this little dude you talking about? He green too. I don't mess with him." And like they end up coming together. They invite him to live with them happily ever after. But those are the types of side quests that you come around.
Got you. Okay. Okay. 'Cause I was led to be under the impression that you had to do like, silly stuff like driving and things like that.
You
Like
do.
I don't know if I don't know. Oh, you do.
Yeah, you do. You know that episode where Goku and Piccolo learned to drive. You have to get your license, so you do that, and then you don't have to drive again, but you have the option because you have vehicles. So with the Nimbus
Okay.
Cloud, you had a
Okay.
Nimbus Cloud you can fly around on. Mercenary Towel, you know how you got that pillar. There's that, and you can throw the pillar and hop on it or whatever, like he did. There's cars, which you can drive. You don't have to, but you can. And then there's like a mech, like a bipedal mech that you run around on. So yeah, there is one part where you have to drive, but
One part.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
it's mostly like it's mostly a nostalgia machine. So as a Dragon Ball Z fan, especially if you liked Dragon Ball before, there's callbacks to literally every single thing within it, except for one. I do have one nitpick about the story that I didn't get to see, that I'm still a little salty about, but not very. Namek, when you're on Namek, it was a little weird that they had this whole little piece of the arc for Captain Ginyu, and he switched bodies and all of that, but there was never the part where he switched bodies with the frog. There was never the part where Goku got into the frog body and you get to hop around as the frog. Like when they announced this, that's I'm not gonna lie, it's the first thing I thought about because everything else is gonna be there. So yeah, I know that's weird, but and it's a obscure part of Dragon Ball, but I wanted to see it happen.
But yeah, if they hit the note on so many other things, it does make one wonder why something like that would be overlooked.
Yeah, man. So that being said, y'all, Peep Game. It's not necessarily a Dragon Ball podcast. Peep Game is called Peep Game for a reason. Because that's a phrase you say to somebody when you about to show them something and put them up on it. Like, hey, check this out, Peep Game. And what we wanted to talk about today. So both of us actually showed up to today's podcast woefully underprepared. We were supposed to watch all the movies again. And I even gave myself extra credit, like extra homework, to watch the Animatrix and to go through the story, like enter the Matrix and just basically find everything Matrix like that I could and compile it for this. But guess what I didn't do? My homework. So that being said, I'm trying to see where I might want to start here, but let me see. I want to ask you if you heard of one thing within the Matrix mythos. BI99ER.
I have heard it. I'm not too versed on it. I have heard that several times though.
B1, my bad. B19966ER.
Yeah, B1, yeah.
B166ER. I'm messing that up and seeing it upside down in my head. But so B166ER is a robot, for lack of a better term, right? This is what everybody's gonna call him anyway. Now the whole mythos of the Matrix starts with us as humanity creating artificial intelligence, and exactly as you would think, it doing our jobs for us, right? Now, this robot was the first robot to ever kill a person. It was put on trial, and its defense was simply, I did not want to die. It's super sad, but basically, can you even put a robot on trial? Does it have a soul? Are you able to do that? If you did, what would its punishment be? Would you just dismantle it? Because if it's only property, why all the theatrics, right?
Right.
Because it became sort of an epidemic, and everybody's bots kind of started to wake up, if you will. And so because of what happened with him, it started, long story short, an all-out war. Machines versus people.
Right.
And I don't know if you've seen whenever Morpheus actually showed Neo what the real world looked like, and it was dark and stormy, and it was a perpetual night. Yeah, the machines didn't do that. We did. We were the ones that basically blackened the sky and said, no more light, because the robots ran on solar energy. So at this point,
I remember him saying that. Yeah, like said we were the ones in that torched the sky, or black the sky.
Yeah, and the messed up part about it was it did not work. Like they torched the sky and left everything black so that the sun couldn't show through. And in the end, it did absolutely nothing for humanity. As a matter of fact, it kind of worked to their detriment, because what ended up happening after that was they had to go underground. They had to go underground and hide, and created this giant city we call Zion. We know what that is, but for the uninitiated, this is the city for the original man, the last man, the last one standing in this case, but within certain parts of the story, also the first in this new world that everybody sort of was embarking on, right? Now, this starts what we see as like the contemporary world of the Matrix, right? Everything is black. We don't go to the surface. Some people do. Some people have a job to go up there and to salvage certain things. But for the most part, the humanity at large does not go to the surface. And we live underground, and we fight these machines, and there's a giant war, and we have this hope that eventually we'll wipe out all the machines and we'll live happily ever after, right? And this is where we begin our story. I just wanted to set the scene for y'all, in case y'all didn't know about what actually set this off, right? So this will take us to the next part, the one. Neo and his whole journey to the one, right? I don't know if you ever had the chance to take any notes. Don't let me shame you at all, but did you end up doing that?
I didn't, unfortunately.
Okay, cool. Because I have a couple theories and a couple questions. So I only bring all of this up to start with one of the first theories. And I don't even know where to go with this, but so within the whole thing of, Neo being the one, and getting his powers, and not even getting he had different upgrades throughout the thing, and we'll talk about that because if you notice, there were certain points where each thing clicked. There was a kiss from Trinity, which I don't think that's what did it. I think that's what activated it, which activated one of his powers that the Oracle called the Sight. And if you notice, when she kissed him, while with the last fight with Smith within the first movie, when she kissed him and he looks up and he sees the hallway of agents, he sees Smith, and then everything turns into that code, that Matrix code.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think that that's the Sight. People were led to believe when they heard the Oracle talking about his foresight and actually seeing the future and feeling like he knows what's going to happen, that that's what the Sight actually was. But I think it's twofold when it comes to the one. I think it's the ability to see probabilities, not the future, but probability, and the ability to see code inside of the Matrix, in and out. See, on the outside, when they watch the screens, all the screens are in code. They know what's happening within the Matrix. But my theory is that the shades that they wear are what allows them to see the code within the Matrix as like their digital body. Because you ever wonder why they wear shades like that? Everybody's got sunglasses on. And you ever notice the only time you really seen anybody without them is if he was just getting his ass dusted.
Yeah. In the midst of fight. Yeah.
Well, you saw Morpheus get done in. Even when Neo was getting whooped at one point, you only seen even Trinity in the beginning. You only seen them without shades if they was getting done in. Why would it be such a big deal to keep those on?
That's interesting. I'd actually never heard or even considered that before.
Yeah, I think it's something that allows them to see the code the way they see it outside of the Matrix, within the Matrix, because it's just not something that comes naturally. Because once you jacked in, you're part of that system that you were a part of before you were awakened, right? So there's no real reason that they would ever have seen it once they got in, unless they have some type of outside thing that allows them to.
Well, that's not. I mean, they do have like Neo in particular had a way to manipulate the parameters of the Matrix even without that though. You know, he had innate abilities that allowed him to do it. He just never knew about it. So I'm not sure if it's necessarily that he needed some type of tool to do it, because it seemed like every tool that he had needed to be unlocked within him.
Mm-hmm. Or are you sure about that? Because I have a theory otherwise.
Okay.
Because every so often, and usually corresponding to a separate power that he gets, it usually happens after something clicks and something connects with him, but it's after something else. Example being the kiss with Trinity. Mm-hmm. They never actually admitted that they liked each other, let alone loved each other. And Trinity was like, well, which we'll come back to this love part between them two later. Trinity was like, well, she told me that I was going to fall in love with a man and that man would be the one. Okay, so if you notice, the last time he'd seen the Oracle, what happened? She gave him a cookie.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, because within the Matrix, all of these people exist as software. That brain matter is software. Whatever happens there happens in real life because your mind tells you it does. But that, I think, is the mind being rewritten in the same way it is whenever a program is downloaded into their heads. So who's to say, and we're going to get into the Oracle and her true intentions and what I think is actually going on with her, but who's to say that whenever the Oracle gave him something, because keep in mind, she's a program. She's not a person. She was made to look like somebody's grandmama, but maybe that was for a reason. So he lets his guard down. She gives him a cookie. He eats one. He eats only one. Everything the Oracle does is in ones, if you notice. She cooks something. She only offered him one cookie. She only smokes one cigarette per time. Later on, there's candy. bag full of candy, she only takes one. Like, and like every time she tells him something or asks him something, it only happens once. If he don't understand, he just don't understand. So if you notice, there's the cookie, there's the candy, and there's something different each time. And usually that only ever happens with a major change. Anything else is just small and suggestive. But the big power thing only ever happens with a major change.
Now you kind of got the wheels turning a little bit. Kind of got the wheels turning a little bit.
A lot of this was
This,
already within him, but he had to train it up. He learned kung fu, and he wasn't just the most powerful dude in the world after that.
right,
Um,
right.
he didn't make that jump, but eventually he learned to fly. You know, it was in him, but there was always something that clicked to unlock whatever it was that he learned.
Well, I mean, of course, I mean, we could always go, with the simple and the thing that was beating over our heads. And he had to develop this belief in himself, in order to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But this Oracle theory that you have, it makes me a little bit more interested. It makes me that sounds a little bit more interesting to me, because
a lot of the stuff
I'm
I
sorry,
end
go
up
ahead.
asking you is gonna revolve around the Oracle, because we coming into something about the Oracle, and we're gonna have one major conversation about the Oracle, and that's basically what she is and why she is. Okay, so next thing about the Oracle, right? If you notice, when the first time Neo goes to her house, to her office or whatever, he meets that kid, the one that hits you with the brain tease, going, it's not the spoon that bends. It
Yeah,
only bends when you
yeah,
realize the truth that there is no spoon.
right,
Okay, so you know why that kid was there and why he was able to bend spoons? He was there because he could bend spoons, right? He was there because he knew that there was no spoon, and because he was savvy to the Matrix.
right.
But he never actually left the Matrix. He wouldn't live as a monk if he'd ever left the Matrix, if he had a reason to not be there, if he was outside, like if he had been awakened, right? He was there because he potentially could also have been the one. All of those different people that you saw in the office as he walked in were potential anomalies,
Or
potential
potentials.
ones.
Yeah.
Okay, so if the Oracle already knows Neo's the one, why do you need all of these potentials? What's the method to your madness on having all of these potential ones around you when you know for a fact that he is the one?
Do you think she actually knew?
I think she knew.
Because I was never actually sure about that.
I actually have a theory. Like, one of my theories on the Oracle is that she created the one.
Really?
I think the Oracle is the reason that the one exists, and that everything that happens with him afterward is her and the architect trying to steer his life in a certain direction. Because keep in mind, at the end, it all comes
Okay,
to
now
one
I'm
binary
with you
choice.
there. Mm-hmm.
It all comes to that one choice. And I think one of them wants him to do one, and one of them wants him to do the other. And I think a lot of what happens in the Matrix that we see is a big three-way battle between the Oracle, the Architect, and the Merovingian. And I think
Agreed.
the
Agreed
Merovingian is
there.
the weakest of the three, but the thing that he got the hood on his side, for lack of a better way to explain it. He has the hood on his side because he's got all of these exiled programs and all these programs that were meant to be deleted,
Right.
that he looked out for and that he did something for, and now they all
Right.
owe him one.
Yeah. The vampires, the werewolves, and whatever,
The
like they
angels,
were saying. Right.
yep,
Right. The angels. Right.
all these programs got to do something for him now because he saved their life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think when it comes down to it, it's one of those situations where I think overall it's a big battle between those three, and that the Merovingian is, up until after the movies, I think he didn't really become a big player, a big power player the way we might think he is, until what happens after Revolutions. which we'll get to that in a second too. But
Yeah, yeah. Which will get yeah.
so yeah, the Oracle.
That all
Why do you
that
think
that
that?
all sound that all sounds good, but why if you think that she created the one, if you think that she created the one, why do you think that she wouldn't have an inside track on the decisions that he's going to make, and why did she have to ask him these questions in the first place?
Because for she asked him those questions not for her benefit, not for his benefit, but for hers. Kind of both back and forth. She had to make him think about certain things. Like the when she told Trinity, "You're gonna fall in love with somebody. Whoever you fall in love with will be the one." I think that was a nudge in the direction of Neo because she was already kind of looking at Neo a certain way, but there wasn't any real romance until she sparked it in both of them. Because she suggested that whoever Trinity liked would end up being the one, suggesting that it
Mm-hmm.
may be Neo. And eventually she
Mm-hmm.
suggested to Neo that Trinity liked him. And what would you do if
But
you were in a post apocalypse and you never met another woman?
but if she created the one, why does she have potentials?
Okay, so I think the thing with Neo is everything is going to run, and her one advantage over the architect was the fact that human beings were given free will, or the fact that there was choice. Because if you remember,
Mm-hmm.
the architect cannot see past choice. Like
Right.
the way she explained it, people and including programs can't see past choices that they don't understand. So if
Right.
you did something and you don't understand why, which is when he had the sight and he saw what was going to happen to Trinity, he didn't know how it was going to happen. He couldn't see past that because he made the decision that it was going to happen, but he didn't understand why. Well, as it
Right.
pertains to the architect, he only sees code. He only sees zeros and ones. He only sees in absolutes and variables.
Mm-hmm.
So choice is not really a variable that he's familiar with because you know what it takes to actually make those choices as a human. Okay, so with the Oracle, I feel like this will make the most sense if I start unpacking different things about the Oracle. So I guess we're going into this theory, right?
That's good.
Okay, so the prospective ones were there, right? To I guess to determine if they were the one or not. But the
Mm-hmm.
Oracle knew that they weren't. It was a manipulation, because for one, all of these other people, the one is not the only one. He's an anomaly. He's the anomaly. He's not the only one. He's just the anomaly that has the power to crash the whole matrix.
Right.
Everybody
Right.
else can manipulate things on a smaller scale. They have the potential to be the one, and they need to be out of the way because the world at large, the matrix, can't know about all of this this extra, like this crazy stuff. So the rest of the world can't know. I don't know if you ever seen, like when you seen the scene in the Animatrix where those kids would go to this one area and they jump, but that one little area that they jumped off of was zero gravity, so nobody ever hit the ground. If you seen, they sent the agents to fix that area. And as with all other glitches in the Matrix, we only chalk it up to deja vu. These glitches that if we saw it, we would count as amazing things. They have to minimize our exposure to those. They can't have us out
Right.
here witnessing some dude bending spoons in real life. You know what I mean? They can't have us out here witnessing
Right.
some kid being able to fly. Or so how do you keep tabs on them? To get
Right.
somebody that they respect that'll tell them what to do, and they'll do that. Now, on the case of Morpheus, it was twofold because it was able to help her manipulate the situation. Morpheus is one of the most famous people in the real world.
Sure. Right.
Morpheus is I don't know how to pick somebody who's a religious figure people respect. That's Morpheus basically. We don't have too many of those in the black community no more, but yeah, so he's basically somebody everybody looks up to and respects in a way, but he's also, for all intents and purposes, a zealot. And so
Mm-hmm.
if
Yeah.
she keeps him unsure as to whether or not that's the one, she can more easily manipulate him. How do I know? Because not only was that not the only potential one within her office, but that wasn't the only potential one on Morpheus's ship. there had been other people who Morpheus brought out of the Matrix in hopes that that person was the one. Neo was just the latest. This is not even a theory. This is canon. There was a dude named Eddie. It's a deleted Matrix scene. So there was a dude named Eddie who Morpheus thought was the one and jacked out of the Matrix. And at some point, he went back into the Matrix to find his girlfriend. He wanted to go visit his girl. And Morpheus actually jacked him out. He actually disconnected him from the Matrix and ended up killing him so that he wasn't able to get caught by agents. But yeah, there was more than one person. They took that scene out because it would have given away too much about what was going on and how the world actually worked. But because Cypher, the rat, the dude who betrayed them, was actually supposed to. There was a deleted scene where he told Neo that he wasn't the only person that Morpheus took out of the Matrix. So yeah, that tells me that she's been playing with Morpheus' mind for a long time, and had been basically orchestrating everything. Now I know that seems to work against what I'm saying. Maybe she didn't. So back to what I'm saying. Neo was the one. She had always known Neo was the one, but only since they found him.
Okay. Okay.
Now, when I say
I'm trying to process this for a minute. Go ahead. Go ahead. My bad.
when I say she created the one, I actually have a note here. So let me put this down here. Now, you know how Morpheus says that there was a man when the Matrix created the first version of the Matrix, there was a man who could manipulate anything he wanted, blah, blah, blah. So I think that happened because of something the Oracle created. I feel like the Oracle is chaos to the Architect's order. The two of them are polar opposites. And so she created something a program basically, that would be that opposite. Now that program was so destructive to the Matrix that it needed to be controlled. So it was extracted into a human body because they had plenty of them laying around. Extracted into a human body, and this is what started the current world order, like the current cycle of the one being created or the one coming out of the Matrix, going to Zion, meeting the people, and having something to do with that whole war, and then that end choice that the architect said happens over and over with different versions.
Yeah.
That end choice, it was basically you have to choose 20 something, 26, I think, people from Zion to start over, and or not. You have to reboot the Matrix.
Yeah.
Because the Matrix is gonna get rebooted anyway. So you can kill all of these humans, or you can save some of them, and they usually get saved. That's how the original one got even into a human body. He has that power because he's at his core a program. He knows how the Matrix works enough to manipulate it because at his core he's a program.
Right.
And why would such a chaotic program just exist out of the blue? The architect wouldn't have made it. It had to be the Oracle. Remember, those two are the only ones that have the power to really do anything substantial, and everybody else just makes simple programs. The Merovingian only made, look at the twins. They're simple assassin combat programs. Those vampires, those werewolves, those angels we spoke of, he didn't create them.
Right.
They came about from two different versions of the Matrix. There was the Paradise version where everything was too good and people rejected it because things were like unrealistic. There was the Hell version where everything was too bad because he thought, oh, well, maybe they thrive in suffering, and they didn't. And then there's the version that we know of now. The perfectly balanced version that chaos would thrive in. Chaos being the Oracle.
Okay. So Okay, I'll save that. I'll save that for later because that's gonna come into something as far as the later movies. Where it seems like we're moving in a almost sequential pattern. But okay, all right, I could even buy I could buy into that. I can buy into that.
So opening
I
up,
can buy into that. Because the whole father and mother, the Matrix, and all. Like I can buy into that.
yeah, like different ends, different sides of the same coin, and
Absolutely.
you can tell partially because like you can tell because of their natures. Like the
Hmm.
architect is strict, sequential, methodical, and
Yeah.
the oracle
The
is
lot,
literally
the
does
logic and the emotion. Yeah.
literally does
The
everything
logic
off
and the
instinct.
emotion.
Why?
Yeah.
Because the architect was built to do exactly what he does, and the oracle was built to understand human emotion and to make predictions based off their nature.
Hmm.
Which is why she did all of this extra stuff to manipulate. Because eventually, she had to drive him to she had to drive him to the architect at some point, so he could make that
Right.
choice. She was just hoping he'd make the one she was leading him to make along his life. And it's funny because
Which which ultimately, well, normally will be the choice that you wouldn't want to make. So
yeah,
why would she steer him towards that? Why would
um,
she implant something to him that would be the direct detriment of saving the people that you're trying to save?
it's gonna reboot the Matrix without those people, without the free people.
Mm-hmm.
That way,
Why would she want to do that?
I think, I think, um, it was more about control. You have a lot less control over people who know you exist, who know what you are to some extent. You have a lot more control of those jacked into the matrix. Those potential ones, I'm going to assume had never actually left the matrix.
Hmm.
All these powerful programs had never actually gone. They don't know the truth. None of them had shades on or leather. I'm just guessing that that's the uniform of of the enlightened ones.
Because I'm with you on the power struggle between the Oracle and the Architect. What I had trouble grasping is that why, because it seems like she wanted, well, you would think, at her core, at the core of her programming, wanted to aid them in the war that they were fighting against the machines, or point him in the direction of doing so. So why even introduce the emotion or the concept into him and Trinity, something that could potentially offset and ultimately sink their mission.
I don't think they wanted different things. I think the oracle and the architect literally want the exact same thing, except
So why would you introduce the concept of love for an individual person?
so that he be
Because
torn.
ultimately that was Neo's choice. He chose to save Trinity over rebooting the Matrix and saving those people, restarting, and all that. He
And both
he
ended up
so he
happening
he cho-
anyway.
he chose, which it did,
Yeah, and
which
they
it did.
didn't. Neither of them neither of them saw that outcome happening. Neither of them. And I personally think that no matter what, either way, the Matrix would have been rebooted. I
Hmm.
just think on one hand, those humans would have been destroyed, and on the other hand, they wouldn't. The like natural born humans would have been destroyed. On the other hand, they wouldn't. I think for the architect, he I think they want the same exact thing, literally the same exact thing, damn near, with the
Mm-hmm.
difference of the two being choice. I think the Oracle wants actual choice. Want these people to be able to choose which of these things they want, even if like whatever they want out of life, even if they don't know why. And I think the architect only wants the illusion of choice, just so much that whatever is going to happen is going to
Mm-hmm.
happen, but you stay in line while it's happening.
But is it really a choice? I mean, I suppose it is, but you have to be the one to even realize you have that choice. Does does him making that choice really impact what she would want for everyone else? He had to be the one to make that choice. The reality of it is an illusion of choice. For most people that are jacked in, I wonder, like it seems like there was something more to her motive behind that, because it seemed like she wanted to emphasize choice with him, but his choice, he had to be the one to make that choice.
Yep.
Most people won't even be in that room or be in that situation.
And you know what ended up
There were
happening?
there were a whole bunch of other potentials in that room that wouldn't have an opportunity to even make that choice.
You
So it
know what
seemed
ended
like
up
she would
happening?
like,
And you know
was
why they
that
wanted that choice out of everybody's hands? Because they know who people they know. I think the Oracle in particular knows how people are, because within the canon, or at least the canon as it stands right now before the next movie comes out,
right, right,
what ended up happening is Neo brought all of that information out. Right now, people actually know what's going on. Maybe not everybody,
hmm,
but at the very least, certain programs and a couple people in Zion. Right. Okay.
right,
Now, the last act that Neo performed, the last thing that he did, and this is kind of probably leaking over into some Matrix 4 theories, but it might be kind of obvious after this, and it might be kind of obvious to anybody that's played the Matrix online. So, the last thing that Neo did was split himself into like different bits of data. And he basically used these pieces of him. I feel like I got this in my notes somewhere, but basically he used these pieces of him to like try to help guide people, but other people who were savvy to what was going on went out and actually started collecting these pieces. Now, this is when stuff hits the fan, because around this time, two separate factions started to show. There were those who followed Neo in his way, and who basically believed and fought for the idea that people should have a choice whether or not they want to be in the Matrix or in the real world. They not knocking people for wanting to like live in the Matrix, but they want you to have the choice. Now, there was a whole separate group of people who believed the opposite. They were like cipherites. They believed what Cypher was talking about. That was called cipherites, and basically believed that everybody, whether they wanted to or not, needed to live as a part of the Matrix. For everything to work, for there to be true harmony, everybody needed to be jacked in, whether you wanted to or not. And so, let me see. Okay, so what ended up happening here was, and I think that Cypher, even though he wasn't entirely wrong with wanting what he wanted, I think he's a rat and a coward, for one. And for two, even though he wasn't entirely wrong for wanting what he wanted, and even though he is a rat and a coward, it's not entirely his fault, because I think he was manipulated into doing what he did. I think he was manipulated by the machines to do what he did. I think that seeds were planted, because keep in mind, that gift of sight
hmm,
that Neo had, it gave him one thing in particular when it first manifested. And I think this thing was tested on Cypher. It gave him dreams. He wasn't sleeping because of the dreams that he was having.
right, right,
Now, Cypher wasn't given premonitions. He wasn't given he wasn't really given prophetic dreams, but he was given dreams of Trinity, which made him fall in love with Trinity.
Right.
And down that line, mind you, these people live together on the ship. They're a crew. They only go back to Zion every so often. They pulling people out of the Matrix. He's seeing from his perspective, the one after the one after the one being taken out of the Matrix and dying for one reason or another. But the main reason being Morpheus and his belief that he thinks is utter bullshit.
Yeah. He became jaded by it. Yeah.
Now, now with Cypher, this man didn't give up on it right away. But I think the straw that broke the camel's back. Now, mind you, before we even get there, if that's the case, wouldn't they have known? Can't you see it on him? Can't you see it on his demeanor? Isn't there some type of initiation or a test? There is, because if you watch the Animatrix, there's this one anime part. There's this thing where these two samurais are fighting and they on horseback or whatever. And they having this whole conversation during the whole time about their doubts about being there and all of this. And in the end of the fight, in the end of the training exercise, you find out that it was a simulation meant to test that person's loyalty and meant to see if they were going to sell them out to the machines. If their desire to go back into the Matrix was greater than their desire to be free. I think that was shown in the Animatrix to kind of show standard procedure for anybody that's going to be a part of a crew. Because it's just common sense to vet the people that are doing some of the most important things in your society. And
100%.
And so I think that they also did that with Cypher. And at the time, he might have had his doubts, but he was loyal. And I think that the one too many came about. And then when he felt that Neo wasn't the one, when Neo didn't make that jump the first time, everybody thought that he was going to because he has to because he's the one. And he didn't make that jump the first time. I think that's when Cypher said, nah, man. Nah, y'all tripping. Y'all can't see this. Y'all can't see that he about to kill another one. And then you saw him try to warn Neo when he offered him the drink. Y'all can't see this man about to kill another one. If somebody don't stop y'all, like I'm gonna have to stop y'all because clearly nobody else is going to. And then he saw the girl that he started falling in love with, the one he was having dreams about, fall for somebody else because Morpheus made up a story. Oh no, y'all got me messed up.
Yeah. You actually made a compelling case on behalf of Cypher. I thought he was a whole lot worse than the things you called him.
Yeah.
I thought he was a whole lot worse, but
I still believe those things.
But you actually made him. You actually turned him into a sympathetic character in a certain type of way. You actually made him a sympathetic case, and in that sense, I kind of understand.
But you still sold out your people. But okay, so now taking that and all that he saw, and the lengths that he went through to get reinserted into the Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
If he said he didn't want to remember anything, but it's possible that he did, especially after the fight between Neo and Smith, because during that fight, Smith literally took over the bodies of every single person on Earth.
Right.
And so I think that for anybody that has lived outside of the Matrix before would have triggered something. Now, I don't know for a fact if this happened. I don't know how this information got out, but the point is that it started a cult following of other people who went out of their way to make sure that people stay jacked into the Matrix no matter what. And they fought another faction trying to free people because they believed that it should never happen. I mean,
okay.
Humans were, even though it was, because they lost in the war, humans were still complicit in their insertion into the Matrix in the very beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Now,
that's how they knew what wheat tastes like. When they was like, how do they know how this tastes? That's how they know.
Yeah.
Or tasty wheat, that's what it was. That's how they knew what tasty wheat tasted like.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you this question. Like, are we going into resurrection theories now, or questions and theories? Are
We
we
can
there?
because all of this stuff is so intertwined that
Because my question that I have actually pertains to when you were referring to pieces of Neo being being picked up and having a part of his consciousness, and using that as kind of like a way to motivate them to fight this war against people who people who want to stay in the matrix, right? Did you notice like in the trailer, there's gold code there's gold code floating upwards in the same way that the green code is flowing downwards.
mhm.
Is that symbolic of the war that you might be referring to?
Okay.
Because when Neo walked into uh to meet the Oracle in Matrix Reloaded, he saw Seraph for the first time, and Seraph
Had that
actually
gold
betted
code.
Neo. He was gold coded.
I think
Uh,
two different
Is he
things. I'm gonna let you finish that
okay?
question before I get into it though.
You mentioned previous ones and potential ones. Do you think Seraph is encoded with one?
Hmm. Okay, so
And there are other people out here encoded in one code as well. Because
so
I don't believe that started just because Neo this last time decided to break himself apart. He had to come together from something. So if he came together from something, couldn't someone else be made up of that?
I'd had a theory, and I'd heard somebody else have a theory that Seraph was a previous one, and that's why
Hmm.
he's qualified to protect the Oracle, and that's why he even does to
Hmm.
begin with. And I really haven't seen many people fight like him. Um, I,
He
he
kept up with him.
he could beat an agent if he wanted to. I mean, he didn't
Yeah.
beat three, but Smith is different. And yeah, so the thing about that is, I think I had heard he was a previous one, but what I actually think is it's not exclusive to the one. I think that that gold code is I think it's reserved for it's like a symbol of programs. I think that it means one of two things. Either no, it doesn't mean that second one. It does not mean that second one. No, it only means the first one. I think that it's programs because whenever you see it, it's always somebody that is a program. Neo himself is a reincarnation of a program. That first one that we talking about is only the one because of what's inside of him, that chaotic code that I said earlier. It came from the Oracle, but wherever it came
Oracle.
from,
Right. Right.
wherever it came
Right.
from, whether it was the Oracle or not, it was still code inserted into a human mind. So yeah, I think it's actually whatever came from that, because I could say, well, it's hardware. It's whoever is jacked into the matrix from wherever they are. And it could also apply to programs because if they were running from a separate piece of hardware that the actual matrix is stored on, then that would make sense
Hmm.
too. Um, let's see. Prime House was good, which I see Baron J67 in this. Oh, hey, what's happening? Who else came in here?
Brothers.
What's happening? What's happening? Simeon in this bitch. What's happening with you? Um, he said, isn't the gold code the machine programs? Yes, I think so. I think it's programs in general. I think every single program um is showing in gold code, and I think that's how Neo always automatically knows who's a program and who's a person. Um, let me see, because he was born inside the machine. Well, yeah. I mean, I think
But
every
didn't I'm trying to think. Did Neo look at those Merovingian, like when they were at the table with the Merovingian? I'm trying to remember. Did
I
he
think
look at them in code?
the only people it showed in code was the girl eating the pie or the cake or whatever it was, and she was a normal person. It just showed the effect of the code that she ate.
But
Which
was it? But there weren't any goals in that room.
did he even look at the Merovingian?
That's what I was wondering. Like,
Let's
because
see.
if all of them in there, if all of them were in there and they were codes and they were programs rather, they would have came up gold.
Let's see.
They would have came up gold in that case. I didn't think they did. I thought they were all green also.
Let me look this up and see if I can find.
You said those programs were different from green. Were they? Were they?
From the Matrix Reloaded, those programs were different from green. I thought they were white. Yeah, okay, cool. And I think the point is that they weren't green because literally everything else is,
Right.
even the
Weren't green.
processes.
Right. Right.
And I
Not green.
think anything other than green is reserved for programs, not reserved for processes like, say, the cake, and which is also supporting the theory about those firmware updates happening every time the Oracle gave Neo something to eat. It was demonstrated by the Merovingian when he was giving his speech. It's funny that I just never connected that to what the Oracle was doing. Let me see. Oh, it's not showing. Actually, let's look at the Merovingian real quick and see what this man is about. Hopefully they don't try to pop no video up on me. Pause.
Yeah. Hopefully, I wouldn't want you to get hit out here.
Boom. Okay. Let's take a look. I'm gonna put this up on the screen so you can check it out. Boom, boom. Blow. So we're on the Matrix Wiki, y'all. Let me see. The Merovingian, sometimes called the Frenchman, is an old, powerful program that resides within the Matrix. Actually, let's look at program before we go into that, because I want to see what their definition for program actually is. In computer science, a program is generally a precise sequence of instructions that enables a computer system to perform a specific function or set of functions. Comes in many forms in the matrix: artificial environments, inanimate objects, machine entities that appear as human. Okay, Neo's mind likely contains unique programming that gives him his abilities. And clearly Neo isn't gold code, so we're gonna hold on to that. All red pills can usually bend or break program physics. The key maker carries an assortment of door keys, represent complex encryption passwords that can enter doors. Sati. See, I don't see anything about the actual colors, right? I don't see anything about the actual colors. But I want to say that it's the special programs. We'll put a pin in it, and until we know for a fact, who knows? It's a big enough subject to maybe do a part 2. Until we know for a fact. But for right now, I'm gonna say it's any special program, is anything other than something that was created specifically for the Matrix to live within it. Keeping in mind, Merovingian is not meant to be there. The one was not meant to stay there.
Sure.
Let me see. Boom, boom, boom. We don't want to know about Hulu. Okay, yeah. Okay, let's see what's up with the Merovingian.
Oh man, did my camera freeze, man?
Are you
My
what?
bad. Did my camera freeze?
If you did, I didn't see it.
Oh, okay. All right. Just making sure.
Yeah,
All right.
but you good now. Let me see, because I feel like they're going to say something crazy about him. Merovingian behaves much as a leader of a powerful organized crime syndicate. He and his wife Persephone operate a smuggling ring, providing a haven for exiled programs in the Matrix. The Merovingian is described as an operating system. by the kid. Oh, that makes sense because he does have the power to create programs.
Yeah, he can create them. Right.
Described as an operating system by the kid. And you know who the kid is. If you ask me, I think he's the second most powerful human in the Matrix besides the one. Because the kid was able to get out of the Matrix on his own without help. He actually exited the Matrix without the aid of anybody or anything, which is freaking crazy. Especially considering Neo couldn't even do that. Okay, let me see. About a
Yeah.
kid in his
Wow, I didn't even know that. Like you're talking about the kid that was like Neo's groupie.
yeah, him.
Yeah, yeah. Damn, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I don't think any of them did. And you only saw it in the Animatrix. Like in the Animatrix, you saw him,
Okay.
him actually still being a Neo groupie, scribbling Neo's name all over the notebook and stuff, saying, I want to help you, or can you come help me, get me out of here, type stuff. And his desire to leave the Matrix was so strong. Oh, you frozen again? What?
I am.
Oh, you are. Oh, I see it now. Nah, Prime House, it's not the Spoon Kid. It's the kid that followed. At least I don't think he was a Spoon Kid. Was he a Spoon Kid when he was a kid? I doubt it.
Nah, I don't. Nah. That was.
Oh, you back? That's weird. That's weird as hell. All right. Oh, in his blog incorporated in the Matrix Online, although this presumably describes his role pre-exile rather than his current function. So that makes sense. So he was possibly an operating system for the Matrix before he was meant to be deleted, which is why he has the abilities he has. He has the knowledge and the power that he has, and also why he's able to, evade the architect in the way he can.
Hey, hold
Oh yeah, you keep freezing. And he did give
Is
Neo the spoon.
that better?
Oh, you unfroze and froze again. Let me see. Oh yeah, it is not your friend right now.
Word.
On the stream, let me look at Discord. Oh, wow. Okay, you bike. We bike. Oh, y'all snack for the night.
You ain't here.
Yeah, we in here. We in here. And so y'all know, not only do we reserve the right to be wrong, but I guarantee this the Matrix we talking about. I guarantee most of what I'm saying is going to be wrong. And I don't know if we do a part 2, maybe that'll be fact checking what we said this time around.
Boom.
Let me
Boom.
see. Merovingian's history seems deeper than his appearances and material trappings. I think that goes without saying. Described by the Oracle as one of the oldest of us. Merovingian came to the Matrix long ago with his wife Persephone. I want to know what Persephone actually is too. Let me see. Speaking French, Oracle. Likely save Sarah from deletion. Yeah, I think a lot of programs actually owe the Merovingian their lives. But I also think the person that the Merovingian is, like the type of dude that he is, there's always something under the surface. There's always something else going on, and it's kind of something that can't fully be trusted.
At all.
Oh no, you know
At
what?
all.
You right. The spoon was given to him by the kid that we saw that bent the spoons within the Matrix, but that's not the same kid. The kid that I'm talking about that was able to bring himself out of the Matrix, that's the Neo groupie. The other one was way too zen to ever be like that. The other one, I don't even know what to say he was, but he was just he was a kid. He was a little monk. He was
Yeah,
Aang,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. He was a monk kid. Yeah.
Yeah, but the Merovingian was a bad mother. Shut your mouth. Okay, I want to check out this trivia though, because this usually
And
got.
apparently he was corrupted, but he was corrupted by the power that he had in the Matrix too. Because it's very interesting because at least I'm unaware of the origin of the Merovingian in particular. Because one thing I remember Persephone saying is that he was very different when he first started.
I
And
think he got bored.
he ended up hmm,
Think about how long
boredom.
this man lived. I think he got bored. I think he got bored and he got jaded,
Do you think
and
do you think it's boredom or do you think it's greed?
both.
Because it seems like of both the architect and the oracle, like you said, opposites of the same coin, but they're equally extremes. And it seems like the Merovingian is somewhere in the middle, and which makes him the most human-like of all three of them.
Yep.
There's nothing more human than greed, and he comes across as a person that is very, very power hungry in whatever arena that he happens to be in at that particular time. I think that's why he has this obsession
Absolutely. I think you're
with
right.
that you don't have it, and everything is cause and effect, and that he has an ability to cause more effects than anyone else.
And that
I,
was actually also what he
I
preached.
yeah, it is. It is.
Causality
Yeah,
was his whole.
I believe it's greed. I believe it's greed in the pursuit of power. Like to me, he came across as the most human out of everybody, including Neo and all, like everybody. To me, he was absolutely the most human character that was in Matrix lore.
I think
And
you're right.
I think that's what made him so evil.
And I think eventually, in one way or another, he actually got the power he was looking for.
Yeah,
I think
agreed.
he actually ended up getting it. And let me see. It was a couple. I'm looking through my notes. Cipher, blah, 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 talking about Eddie, uh, humans, gold code,
Right, Bats. He was like Neo. Yeah.
Neo
Which is
Towers.
very interesting for Persephone to say that he was like Neo, because it seems as if that implies that he is a lot more powerful than he lets on.
Okay, so speaking of powerful powerful people, um, are you ready to hear the theory about Yahya Abdul Satine or Mateen, Yahya Abdul
Mm.
Mateen, and him being Morpheus? I think
Okay.
I think it's not Morpheus. I think it's a copy of Morpheus. Um, let me tell you why. Because within the Matrix Online, within that story, um, you remember me telling you what happened with Neo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, his actual body was never recovered,
Yeah.
and because of that, Morpheus snapped. His grief, his anger, in not being able to recover the body of essentially his best friend. So he went all terroristic. So he created these code bombs, and these code bombs he used within the Matrix to basically show people the code. They would go off and it would show people the code, and it would basically make them aware of the Matrix before they were ready. And his thing was he was pulling everybody out. Now because of this, the general, who's another one of these characters, I think if I'm not tripping, he was actually the general at that last stand, that last battle of Zion, and he ended up working within the Matrix against the Merovingian, but eventually ended up working with him, right? So he created this program, this assassin, and the assassin ended up going and killing Morpheus, who was later killed by Nairobi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Niobe,
I,
Nairobi,
I
one of
I
those.
did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and afterwards, the general created a simulacrum, or like a digital fabrication, digital copy of Morpheus. And I think what we see within the trailer is that same copy after it becomes self-aware.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think, because I heard about time travel. There's a couple theories about time travel.
Right.
I absolutely do not think it's possible. Maybe within the Matrix, the simulation itself, but I don't think there's true time travel within the Matrix. I don't think it would even
I
make
don't believe
sense.
that either. Yeah, I don't believe that. I believe there are absolutely time loops that take place. But as far as time travel, no, I don't believe that either.
And I think whatever it is definitely only in the simulation. I do think I don't think it's a reincarnation of Morpheus, because I don't think it's possible with Morpheus. With these programs, yes, I think every single program is capable of being reincarnated,
Mhm.
including the one, and I think that's more of an argument for the one actually being a program. But with a person, I think it's a full fabrication, a full copy. And I think it only shows in the Matrix, and the only way it would ever come outside the Matrix is by the same means as Agent Smith. So yeah, I think that whatever that is, I'm pretty sure he probably thinks he's Morpheus, but it's not.
Mhm.
And now I feel like we have to do a part two. I'm gonna do my homework now, and now I feel compelled to.
Now I'm gonna see if I can look up the Matrix online. Is that like, because you can't even play it anymore, right?
Mm-mm. Nope.
I'm gonna see if there's some lore I can dig up on Matrix online. 'Cause I want to school myself on that a little more.
Yeah, man. Look, y'all, we actually made it to about an hour and a half, just shooting
Did
back
we?
and forth. Yeah, yeah, we about a good hour and a half in. I'm trying to decide if we should keep this going, or if we should cut it here and then come back and fact check ourselves. Um, I think we'll do it soon, because
Yeah, I would love to, man.
like now I feel like we ended up uncovering a bunch of stuff, and there's a couple things that we didn't talk about, stuff that I'm not super well versed in. I only know like the surface level. Um, One of those things being Deus Ex Machina right here, like main machine, who I think, and I think it's kind of obvious, but I think it's definitely the machine's collective consciousness. I think there's a hierarchy. I think the hierarchy is the programs, like the people in the Matrix, the programs, the special programs, and under these are the exiles, depending on whatever rank they are, whatever program they were before. Um, the Merovingian, who is an exile but above everybody else,
Right,
and then right
right.
next to each other, the Oracle and the Oracle and the Architect, who sometimes it's like this, sometimes it's like this, but it's mostly neck and neck, and
Yeah.
then the Deus Ex Machina on top.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the hierarchy of programs, and I think everybody above regular people jacked into the Matrix, are different colors of code. If you notice, I don't know if you ever played like
What
Enter the
makes sense?
Matrix or any of those Matrix video games. Matrix Path to Neo being my favorite and the only
Yeah,
good one, if
yeah.
you
I
ask
did
me.
play Path of Neo. Right.
You
Agreed.
notice they show up in gold when you look in code, or if you pause the game, they show up in
Yeah.
gold. Anything that wasn't created for training or
Mm,
something like that.
yeah. I didn't even think about that from the games.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that from the games.
I think the games probably painted a better picture than the movie did. I just think they were.
Maybe. Yeah.
It was just a little stunted. Um, a little stunted because of where we were with the technology at the time. But if I feel like there was ever a good time to not remaster, to remake that game, it would be now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I
I
think.
would love that. I would love that with what they can do now.
Yeah, it's time. I want to look at a couple of
You know, with
these. Oh snap!
what they could do now, man. Path and Neo remake.
You know what? Okay, so while we here, can you hear me? Okay, you
Yeah,
back?
you had cut out a little bit on me.
You back from the shower
Hello?
round? Okay, cool. So this is what we gonna
Oh, it
do.
was me? Okay, okay.
Yeah, like okay, so you've been cutting in and out or whatever. I think we gonna cut it here, and we have to come back for another one. We're gonna come back. We're gonna fact check ourselves. We're gonna do our homework. We're gonna do our due diligence. I think we uncovered a lot of good shit here. Not too much that's gonna help us a whole lot with the next movie, but there's a couple things that will. I can guarantee there's gonna be an architect, Oracle, Miravingi, and I guarantee all three of them will be in the next movie because it would be weird if they weren't.
Mhm.
Clearly, they can use any actor for it. One of them passed
Right.
during production of the trilogy. They replaced her with
Sure.
another that worked perfectly within the canon. So, yeah, we have to come back and do this again because it's too good. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know I usually one of those things I like to do is a couple things we like to do to add a little value to the community. And one of those things is highlight somebody, let y'all know about somebody y'all need to pull up on. In this case, he right in front of you. We already highlighted Jedi at some point, in the past. We're gonna do it again today. So I need you to let them know where they can find you. What do they need to click on to see your face?
Much appreciated, man. You can find me on everything at Official Jedi. That's official JETTEYE. That's on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch, which I stream Tuesdays and Thursdays, 5:30 on the West Coast, 8:30 on the East Coast. Check out the Gold Chain Gamers podcast. Me, myself, Sincere Fanatic 215. Always a good time up there. We talk about the news, and latest and greatest, in gaming culture. You know, it's always a fun conversation. Pull up, you know what I'm saying? Between 5:30 and 6 o'clock on Sundays on the West Coast, between 8:30 and 9 p.m. Time zones get me. Between 8:30 and 9 p.m. on the East Coast, you know what I'm saying? Pull up if you have time. It's always a good time. And lastly, thank you, brother. Thank you for having me.
Always, man. Always, man. And that Gold Chain Gamer show, man, it's always funny. It's never not funny. It's never a time where I don't like log in and almost die. And the chat just as live as the show. So y'all gotta pull up. Also, secondly, it's another little thing that we like to do to add just a little tad bit of value to the community and make it a little bit more hood Negro friendly. I like to flip
Yeah.
samples off and on. You know what I mean? Every Friday, every time. And this time around, it is an obscure one. This is Mario artist paint something. It's a Mario artistry paint game. You can see it on the video exactly what it's talking about, man. So I'm gonna let that play through one good time for y'all, and till next time, peace.